Peace, fam. Brother Cool. Islam. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. El Amin Telket. 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 Breathe in peace. So, man, I've been getting a slew of whew, information and knowledge, and you know what I'm saying? Life truly is college. What I wanted to talk about today was I wanted to cover, I've been covering the differences between certain aspects so, we can start to clarify how to look at different things in different angles. But the main thing I want to focus on today for this specific video is, and this hit me as I was doing the AdSense stuff for YouTube. You know what I'm saying? And just for the record, man, it's amazing, dude, to get energy back from the energy you put out. You know what I'm saying? In terms of working for yourself, it's amazing. Once you get a taste of it, you don't want to go back. You can't go back to working for someone else. The only thing you can think of is how to make it bigger, how to expand it. Like a true entrepreneur. But what I wanted to cover today was the United States, the United States of America, a U.S. citizen, and a citizen of the United States. For all different things. And the most important thing to understand when we're using words that have multiple definitions, especially when it comes to legalese, is the basis of context. Context. In what context is that word being utilized? And this is where all those important things come into matter. Those things that we used to find annoying in English class, like what's a noun, what's a verb, what's a subject, what's an adjective, what's a preposition. Like, people understand that a preposition means a preposition literally means something that making a possession. So a preposition would be something that starts off like of the, like United States of America. That would be a preposition, because the United States is subject to America, not America subject to the United States. So on that note, we have to understand, like I said, context. Now, when you're talking about the continental United States, we're talking about the land mass that the United States covers, which is the uniting of the different states, which are all republics. Okay? Now it's crazy, because the states are republics. The states never changed. All the states are still republics. All of the states are still republics. The thing that has changed is those state republics, like, for example, Washington State. Washington State is a republic. You know what I'm saying? It's a territory, it's land, it's a place, a physical geographic place on the planet that is being occupied by people, okay? Not persons. Only time you are a person is if you identify as one. But other than that, you are always a people. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the Matrix and the key maker and different doors. Depending on which key you utilize for the door, the room might change. You see what I'm saying? So if you go into a so-called courtroom of a foreigner, which you shouldn't be in there, by the way. If you go in the courtroom, but if you're doing wrong, you're not living the life accordingly, then you're subject to the consequences of the laws of the state. Okay? So if you understand that the republics are all still there, all the republics are still there. They've never changed. The only thing that's happened is entities have been formed within the state republics. Those entities are called state ofs. So there's an entity, right, that's doing business in Washington State called the state of Washington. And I'm pretty sure that whichever state republic you're domiciling in, there's an entity doing business over there called the state of whatever. You know what I'm saying? So the state ofs are not government. They're all private entities. They're completely dissolved. They don't operate in gold or silver. But Washington State can operate in gold and silver because the people, right? If I do a trade with you and you accept gold and silver as coin and we do a trade and you accept it and I get what I need and you get what you wanted, then that's called commerce. I did a transaction, I got what I wanted and you got paid. So you see, in Washington State, gold and silver still exists. In the state of Washington, gold and silver does not exist. Do you comprehend? Do you understand, understand, and overstand? You gotta make the demarcation lines, okay? So, what we call the United States of America is literally the United States of America. Now, the United States was originally the 13 colonies. The 13 colonies were the 13 foreign colonies, the original 13. Okay, that was what you would call England at the time, because around that time there was no place over there called England. It was called Albion. See what I'm saying? You got to do your research on the timelines as to when certain entities came into existence. All right? Because if B came into existence before A, then maybe B is really A and maybe A is really B. Right? So, the United States, just the United States alone, is literally the 13 colonies. Okay? But you have to take it to account. The United States, okay, also includes the Aboriginal peoples born. Okay? And when I say the United States, I'm meaning the individual state republics, aka countries, that operate under a centralized government called the Fed. So this is the centralized government for the 50 so-called federated states. Okay? And as you can see, slowly, every state is backing out of their contract with the United States. So at some point, I'm assuming by like 2020, maybe, we're going to go back to each state being its own individual country. Now, with that being said, there are two types of citizenship. Okay? There's the one citizenship that every individual people have to their state, meaning their bloodline, and then you have federal citizenship. Federal citizenship being the United States, because the United States is federal. Reason why it's federal is because the UN. So first off, a lot of y'all don't realize, all right, every nation on the planet is disgusted with the United States. They're disgusted. They're up to here with the United States. They don't want nothing to do with the United States. Corporation company. That's why they're not doing any type of international commerce. They're no longer using the Federal Reserve notes, you know what I'm saying, to do international commerce in terms of the petro. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of countries are not using the United States currency anymore either. They're going back to gold and silver. Okay? They're going back to gold and silver. So, the United Nations is taking hold. And when I say United Nations, I'm not talking about the United Nations as if it's a government. The United Nations is a meeting table. If you want to think of the United Nations, think of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. That round table is the United Nations. King Arthur represents one country, and every one of his knights represents another country, but who are all in alignment, meaning they what? Either are in alignment with the Constitution or in alignment with the treaty. So that's all the United Nations is. It's a meeting table. Now, the beautiful thing that has happened is that people are waking up. So all the COINTELPRO, all the people who are against things in terms of the United Nations who've been running things awry are actually in there to make a change. And when I say the people, I mean the people of the different countries. Because there's 35 countries outside the United States that are in America. So is this really the United States? Because how can you say the United States of America when there's 35 countries outside of the United States, but they're still in America? You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? But see, each one of those countries has their own centralized form of government. It's called international law, meaning that they all communicate through The Hague. You know what I'm saying? Through diplomatic fields. So, question is, okay, are we federally recognized? We have a constitution in the Library of Congress that's federally recognized. We have a status in the Justice Department that's federally recognized. We have a treaty called the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1786, and the amendment which took place in 1863 that's federally recognized. So you tell me, are Moors federally recognized? Then you got House Resolution 75. You tell me. And remember now. Let's remember now. House Resolution 75, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, but House Resolution 75 was signed in I want to say, man, you know what? I'm just going to recant. I don't even want to say that. I'll leave that for the next video because I don't remember clearly when House Resolution 75 was signed. But if I'm correct in my thinking, and it was signed around the same time the peace treaty came into place, or if I'm mistaken, it was signed around the 1900s. Now, Morocco, the kingdom that we know over there, was formed in 1956. Okay? Now, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States and the Barbary states, which included Morocco, Tunis, Algeria, and Tripoli, when that treaty was signed and sent to the Emperor of Morocco in 1786, Gregorian calendar, which is 1200 our time, if you look in the town of Indiana, and before Indiana became the state of Indiana, when it was just Indiana Territory, the Republic, which it still is, unless you contract with the state of Indiana. Indiana Territory was made up of Illinois and Michigan. So what you call Michigan and what you call Illinois is all part of Indiana. And there's a town in Indiana called Morocco. Look it up. Exotic maps of the USA. So there's a town today in Indiana called Morocco. So you tell me, which Morocco or which Sultan were they talking to? Because numbers don't lie. 1786, 1956. Who came first? If that Morocco didn't come into existence till about 100 plus years after, what the hell Morocco were they talking about? Maybe it was the one in Indiana? And that's why if you look at Illinois today, which is originally part of Indiana, therefore that was also Morocco as well. Illinois is the home, the sister city of Mecca. Right? So you just got to start putting pieces together. But that's all I wanted to lay on that there's different types of citizens. You have citizens of the United States and you have U.S. citizens. Citizens of the United States are American citizens with a centralized government known as the United States. Okay? So we got to get back to being international. Take our place in the affairs of men. And that is being self-sufficient, self-sustaining, learning how to live off your own energy. What can you create? What can you produce? To make commerce, you got to make commerce. You got to offer something. You can't just not offer anything. What talents do you have? What do you have to offer? Use that. Let that be your job. Build yourself. That's why nationality and trust is important. Be yourself and then do commerce as yourself, utilizing your private trust outside the United States, which makes you American. Everything private. Okay? And then the question comes how to utilize it. I'm going to give you real quick examples on how to use the trust. I have Wi-Fi. I use my trust to get my Wi-Fi. I open up a business account for Wi-Fi. I don't use a social security to get Wi-Fi. I use my tax identification number for my entity, my private entity, my trust. Operate through your trust. If you need electricity, get it through your business, aka your trust. Operate through your trust. Stop operating through a social. Everything you do with a social, just flip that with an EIN for your trust and operate. Make your commerce. You gotta live. You gotta live. But you gotta know how to be private even when you're in the public. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch The Matrix. Because Neo pop in and out of the Matrix all day long as himself, as Neo. Doing what he can do. He can never do what he can do as Thomas Anderson. So you gotta operate as yourself. Everything should be owned in the name of your trust, not you. You don't own it, you control it. I don't own anything. I control it through my trust. All right? That's all I'm gonna say on that, family. Peace.